Hi everyone, this is Lisa Truesdell, a garden girl at 2peasinabucket.com, here with another Memory Keeping Monday. In this week's video, I'm using my Silhouette Cameo to make a series of paper airplanes to help draw the eye through my page. I'm working with a fairly neutral color palette this week. Most of the products that I've pulled together are from Echo Park Paper and October Afternoon. If you don't have a die cut machine to make the paper airplanes, there's a super cute stamp set from Lawn Fawn that you could use for a similar look. Just stamp the planes on patterned paper and then cut them out. Before I get started with the layout, I wanted to talk a little bit about how I chose my photos for this page. I took a lot of photos of Ben throwing paper airplanes from a lot of different angles. I was trying to get a good series of the plane flying through the shot. Between the wind, the unpredictability of the plane, and a fast-moving kid, that didn't happen. As I scanned through my photos, this shot taken from behind, with the plane poised above Ben's shoulder, caught my eye. I knew it would make a perfect focal photo for the page. From there, I scrolled through the rest of the action shots until I found two photos of him throwing a plane. I like the movement they add to the larger still shot. Once I'd chosen my photos, I knew I wanted to accent this page with paper airplanes. I wanted to create a feeling of motion with the paper airplanes flying out of my main photo. To be able to get a feel for what size I should make the planes, I went ahead and planned out my main elements. I placed my 3 photos and a patterned paper ticket on the background and left plenty of room under the main photo to add my title. With the basic page design complete, I decided I wanted to create a semicircle of planes. I kept them near the size of the airplane in the photo, just a bit under 2 inches long. I used my Silhouette to cut the outlines of the plane out of wood grain patterned paper, and then back the die cuts with another paper that's close in tone to my background. In the beginning, I thought about folding little paper airplanes to use, but decided I wanted a more subtle effect. Placing the planes in an arc shape helps draw the eye from the photo down to the title. I'll further reinforce the shape later with some stitching. Next, I'm going to add my title. When I'm using a longer title, I almost always reach for the October Afternoon mini market stickers. I'm placing these along the same line as the top of my smaller photos, keeping with a bit of a grid design for the page. I'm also using these new corrugated thickers from Pebbles. They're the perfect size for the main words of my title. The craft color and texture helps bring a bit of weight to this part of the page, balancing the larger photo above. Stamping on the background of a page can be a little unnerving. What if I stamp in the wrong place or hate how it looks? To alleviate these fears, I start by stamping on scrap paper, just to get a better feel for what the stamp design will actually look like once it's stamped. If I like what I see, I take a deep breath and ink up my stamp for the real thing. If all else fails and you do screw up, like I did the first time around on this page, you just move everything onto a new background. This is why I don't stitch anything down or add embellishments until I'm happy with how the stamping looks. I want these stamp tickets to peek out from under my patterned paper. To make sure I get them in the right place, I use a pencil to mark where the paper goes, then take it off of my page. I stamp my images and then add the patterned paper back in its original spot. If the line shows, I'll go ahead and erase it. I just need to wait until the ink is dry. With both the outline ticket and the rows of dots, I'm stamping once and then slightly offsetting the image and stamping again without re-inking. I like the imperfect look it brings to the page. I've gone ahead and added some machine stitching to my page, through the airplanes and the title. I'm pulling up the edges of the wings on the planes a bit to give them more dimension. I've kept the page pretty monotone so far, and now I want to bring in a bit of color with borders at the top and bottom. I'm also using these craft tags by Jenny Bolin to complete a visual triangle with the title. I'm going to cut just the numbers off the larger one and use it along my top border. The other one will go above my photo. I decided to add some washi tape to each of my 3 photos, as well as to the tag up at the top. I've also added a couple of red accents as a pop of color on my page. This ticket under my photo will finish the triangle. I also want to add some round accents. This time I'm using a piece of October afternoon flare and some Pebbles buttons. My last embellishment will be 3 yellow stars scattered around the page. Here's the first draft of my finished layout. This is what it looked like at the end of the video, but once I'd photographed it, I couldn't stop looking at the red accents, to the point where I felt they were detracting from the rest of the page. It didn't take me long to decide that I wanted to switch them out. I searched through my stash and found a yellow ticket and labels that were similar in size to the red ones I'd used before, much better. Now when I look at it, my eye goes straight to the photo. I did keep a tiny bit of the red by cutting the "I was here" sentiment from one of the red labels and adding it to a tab. The paper airplanes ended up being my favorite part of the page. Using them in such a whimsical way is definitely outside my comfort zone, but I'm glad I did it. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you'll come back next week for another Memory Keeping Monday from 2peasinabucket.com.